What was the expectation going into this? And then how did it live up or exceed your expectations? This huge reunion.
You know, we went into it knowing that it was going to be special. Because Michael and I really wanted to work together. What it was going to turn into, or if everything that we hoped was going to be sort of done, we kind of had to trust, you know? It's a game of trust in a way. And funny enough, ironically, the entire season 1 became a journey into a relationship that explored trust and honesty. So very much what we were living in our life and trying to trust and see where this was going to go was also happening within the relationship of Tony and Ziva.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
I have to say that I admire that all of the women in the show, not just Ziva, are totally badass.
Oh my God, you could say that again.
I mean, even Fruji,
yeah,
who seems, you know, like,
but she's really smart.
But she's very smart.
Very
and
smart.
She's badass in her own way.
Yeah.
Did you have something to do with that?
You know, very little as far as sort of writing characters and stuff. I know we were a part of the casting process, and I remember when episode 6 came out, which was the big Tali and Sophie episode in the safe house. I remember calling Lara Rossi, who plays Sophie, and just being like, my God, you were so good. And it was so grounded, like her performance was so grounded. There was nothing about it that was pushed. I felt also there was like this moment, and I said, where do we know each other from? Like, I'd love to be able to explore, like, how come you're so loyal to her? How come you would do anything for her daughter? Like, I started questioning things about loyalty. Like, what is loyalty and what does it mean to you, and why are you loyal? Like, what did I do to earn that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So there were all of these questions that were going on from a sort of storyline, but they were being informed and brought forth by performance. So Lara and her performance made me question, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, why are they friends? Like, what is this loyalty about? But it starts with that performance and with that heart and with that grounding that I'm talking about. She was just terrific. Also, Isla knocked it out of the park. She was so good. But it was a heavy Isla Lara show, and I felt that it was the first time we departed from Tony and Ziva. We went into these characters and explored outside of the familiar dynamic, and I felt it was a complete hit. In fact, it was a fan favorite show.
What was it like coming back to playing Ziva?
Awesome. There's not a lot of actresses in the world that get to go back and revisit a character that is 1, beloved, 2, kick-ass, 3, very strong, and has gone through a lot in life, you know? So the idea that she kind of keeps encountering these really challenging circumstances and then keeps getting up and fighting, and you know, it's inspiring to me, but I also feel like there's a lot of women that come up to me and they respond to the character, and they respond to that, to the very thing that I respond to. So I try to honor her in the best way I can.
Cool. There's a powerful moment in episode 8 where Ziva gets to use the tools she learned in therapy to ground herself and continue on. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about being so intentional with the mental health aspect of that.
The mental health aspect was brought forth by John McNamara. They felt that it was very important for us to understand where she was at, the sacrifices that she had made, giving her daughter away and all of that, and how that affected her, and also how that immediately affected her ability to be able to connect to the love of her life. And so you needed to go into it in order to have a payoff. You know, you need to go into it in order to understand that she has been doing a lot of work to get to a place where she can be honest with herself, and also recognize maybe Tony's not being so honest, or maybe there's something missing here. What are we missing? Can we move on? Can we be together? You know, so I thought it was very cleverly done. And I'm not responsible for that. That's a team of writers that were very, involved in trying to make that work.
Speaking of which, what is John like as a collaborator, John McNamara?
John is he's such a funny, brilliant man. What I love about him is that he thinks of something and then he elevates it, Never in a million years did we think that the show would look the way it looks, that we would explore heavily all of the emotional stuff that we got a chance to explore, that he would want to explore who Tali is. I mean, and it's the weirdest and most beautiful thing in the world because she is so much Tony and Ziva. She really is like the perfect casting, like not only physically but like emotionally. What you guys don't know is that Tali, Ayla Ghee, the actor that plays Tali, she comes from the theater, but she's also a gymnast. So she actually loves action sequences and she wants to twirl and do all sorts of crazy things. For insurance reasons, we can't allow her, but she is like game on. I mean, she's so much Ziva's daughter, it's crazy. So I kind of kept on looking up at the universe and going, really? Like, you sent us this? Like, this is perfect. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of aligned with the vision. She was the perfect person to play the part. Absolutely.
I know that Tony and Ziva have on the show, speaking of Tali, expressed an interest, like they don't want to do what their parents did.
Yes.
But with everything that's happened, will we see Tony and Ziva start to consider that maybe they need to teach her some things, they maybe need to train her? She's done doing the karate, but that maybe they need to...
I think that's something that we've talked about potentially exploring if we get to go further. I think Ziva comes from a place of extreme paranoia. I think that paranoia will feed into the teaching that you're talking about, but I think it's going to come from a proactive place, not a place of fear. So I think it's going to be a very proactive, empowering thing that she just wants her daughter to be as prepared as she can be for any kind of thing that may come her way. I don't think Tony as a father would allow talking about like potential scenarios that this daughter could encounter, because I think he's right into not bringing a child up in a world of absolute fear, you know what I mean, which is where Ziva comes from. Ziva's reactive and Ziva also, she's trained in all of that, but there's a veil of don't reveal, don't show, don't anything, because it could all be interpreted as something. They can read you. The less they read, the better. So I think this kid is definitely a mix of both. I think she'll have dad's wits, and I think she'll be ready because mom's paranoia will feed into that.